Hi, everyone. So I didn't prepare any slides, as you can see, because I think you will see so many numbers today about what diversity really is. So I'm just going to speak, from myself, very freestyle. And by the way, if you have any questions, just put up your hand. I'm super happy to answer. So they call me entrepreneur. I don't know if I like that word. I simply do what I really love in life. Yeah, so this is what I would actually strive for you to also do. And not everybody needs to be an entrepreneur to be happy. Yeah, so just something to kind of clarify. So what it really is diversity and how do we understand it? So it means understanding that each individual is unique and recognizing individual differences. It means that this can be along the dimensions of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, age, physical abilities, religious beliefs, political beliefs, and other ideologies. At least that's what Google says. But is it really the way it is? So just to tell you a bit more about myself, and I tick a lot of the boxes, when you speak about, somebody who is diverse, who maybe traveled a lot. I'm originally coming from Ukraine. And I grew up, since probably the age of 10, I grew up in Ireland, in Dublin. So this was my growing up kind of city. This is where I finished school. This is where I went to university. And then at some point, I ended up here in Germany. I worked for some time also in the US and traveled probably to around 37 to 38 countries, which means, if you look at the whole world, it's about 30% of the whole world that I visited, which is actually not so much. So if you talk about, diversity and what does it really mean? Well, to be honest, before, nobody actually spoke about diversity. I mean, growing up in school, nobody said anything. And I remember when I moved to Ireland and my principal actually walked into the classroom and she said, well, kids, this is a girl and she's gonna join you and she's actually coming from Ukraine. Does anybody know where Ukraine is? And all the pupils were kind of like, no, where is it? Yeah, nobody knew even where Ukraine was. So in fact, I had a girl in my classroom which was also Ukrainian, but she was explaining that she was from Russia because it was a bigger country that everybody at least knew where it was on the map, which for me was completely insane. And I was like, oh God, how am I gonna explain my religions, and where I come from to the people that don't even know where my country is? So this is kind of, the first touch of diversity and that I kind of got thrown into and didn't even realize, that I was one, let's say, of a kind, or let's say a foreigner at that time that nobody really understood. Then, when time went by, obviously people got to know where Ukraine was and what it is and what type of language do we speak, that we speak Ukrainian but also Russian, because in former USSR this was the language, right, before we became very patriotical and we came back to our language. But as the time went by, things got better. Things got better, there was more students coming from other countries. They were all, kind of telling everyone where they come from, what their cultures are, and this was really, really exciting. By the time I got to university, I felt like there were so many students from all over the world. And this is when I really felt that, wow, I really feel like I could really connect with these people because they all kind of seem to be in the same shoes like I am, right? They're in a foreign country. They don't necessarily know the language, but they have learned the language to actually, perform well and to get a good grade, to get a good certificate. And we were kind of on the same page. Now, when I, started working in other companies, and I started working when I was also in the university, I tried also the more traditional companies, like real estate. I wanted to be actually a real estate manager selling, houses. I worked in hotels, seeing if that's maybe the industry that I want to kind of pursue my career. However, none of these were exciting enough for me. And I didn't feel like people were striving for something bigger, you know? This was not what I wanted. And what I can tell you is that definitely there was no diversity. Oh my God, the people that were working there were all the same, and they were not thinking about, you know, maybe having more women at certain positions, or about, you know, maybe including the guys more at certain points, because maybe they were better at certain stuff. So this really wasn't my thing. So then when I came to Germany, I actually worked for a lot of technology companies. I worked for a lot of tech companies that were creating software products and working in sales and analytics. So we were analyzing, you know, how the user behavior actually is of people that are using these products. And this was super exciting because, you know, this understanding of the analytical stuff actually drove the sales of these companies, right? So we understood exactly, you know, what people want, what do they, you know, what kind of marketing campaigns we need to perform, you know, so they actually buy our products. And this was really cool. So when, you know, I worked at all these companies, they were kind of naturally diverse, right? Because before, nobody said, oh, we're a diverse company. Everyone said we're an international bilingual company. So we have a lot of nationalities, which was kind of like a huge attraction. We have, you know, a lot of, you know, people from around the world, and we have great benefits. So this is really what companies were advertising. And to be honest, I fell in love with this idea of having super international company, because actually we saw quite a lot of innovation come from these teams or from the people from, you know, from outside that were not German, and Germans also have really great innovations, by the way. But we saw quite a lot of, you know, teamwork, and this teamwork led to innovation, and innovation then led to sales, right? Because each company survives on sales. Each company is striving for sales. No matter what you do or what you sell, whether it's a service or a product, you always have to sell, yeah? So one of my kind of like advices for some of you is that don't be scared, you know, to ask for mentors. And I wish, to be honest, that I had this when I was way younger, or like back in the university, to guide you through certain stuff, whether it's entrepreneurial things that you want to do or you want to achieve. Maybe you would like to become a speaker and talk about a specific topic on stage, and you want to learn how to do that. Maybe you want to be really great at sales. All of these things you need mentors for. And one of my mentors that I actually approached, he's a super well-known speaker, and I actually met him at a conference and came up to him, and I was like, you know, I would really love to have you as my mentor. And he said yes. And this was a biggest moment for me, because I knew, you know, if I'm going to start my own company, that I need to know how to sell well, right? Because you need to know how to sell your product so others actually want it. So in terms of, you know, working in technology and building, let's say, great products and great services, it was really important for me to know the sales aspect of it. And I want to say that a lot of the things that I thought were hard were actually so much easier when I had a mentor, and when somebody was actually, you know, kind of guiding me through certain things, like how to do one thing better than the other, you know, or why should I maybe involve this person and not the other person. And this kind of made me understand the whole business of things. What are we doing for business, and why are we, you know, striving to employ these bilingual, international people, what do they bring to the table? And this is how, we were talking about diversity, and it's only not until so long ago we started to say, okay, we need to be diverse, because obviously here, especially in Germany, the larger corporations are having a huge, I would say, issue with the fact that the board members are, let's say, older white male, and I don't like to talk about this way because I don't want to put down the guys, but unfortunately this is how it is, and they really need to see a bit more women going up and actually taking over some responsibility, so there actually is innovation. In fact, a few days ago I was at a conference which was called Wear It, and it was all about wearables. So all the devices that are created that we wear on our hands. So all the sensors, our watches, all this kind of stuff. And one of the ladies, Sophie, she was actually working with an astronaut team with NASA. And she was creating this amazing spacesuit that would fit all. So they would fit women and men, no matter what size they are. So they wouldn't actually have to produce different spacesuits for different genders, which I found so inspiring and so cool. And she actually said, we are not so many women on the team. And in fact, I'm like the only one actually creating this spacesuit. And one of the questions that we were asked, when one of the women was supposed to go into space to try it out, so how many kilograms of tampons we have to actually give you to take with you into space? And I think this question would have never came up, if we had more women on the team. So this was really interesting. However, we don't have too much time. It's really fast. However, I think some takeaways and some things that I would love for you to take from this is that look for mentors if you're not sure about something. Definitely try to teach others stuff that you know already, because I'm sure you know a lot and you can actually teach others of things that you already know. And it must be very obviously to you, but it's not so obvious to others. And in 2019, we are almost in 2020, I would say, let's just be naturally diverse instead of just talking about it, right? Let's include others, and this will drive great innovation and great sales for our companies. Let's not, maybe talk about female founders or female in tech. I do support females, absolutely. This is within my DNA. But I want us to be all equal. I want us all to be founders of something. I want us all to be creators. And this is how it should be. And just to, a few last minutes to tell you what I do exactly for living. So I founded actually multiple companies so far. Some of them were venture-backed and some of them were not, which is also not a bad thing. If you can make your company survive without venture capital, you will be the owner of your company 100%, which is not a bad thing, and this is really great. So W Lounge, we founded with a partner of mine, Mali, and we are actually connecting larger corporations with startups and with venture capitals, because we see a lot of knowledge within the larger corporations. They can definitely, get these startups and pull them up, give them all the structural, let's say, ideas that they don't have. And the startups can actually show the innovation that the larger corporations need. I'm also an investor. I invest into technology. This is what I really love to do. And another of our companies is actually a fund of fund. So who doesn't know, a fund of fund is a, let's say, an investment vehicle that invests actually into venture capital, and then venture capital invests further into startups. So this is what we do. We have, if you visit W Lounge, you will have a lot of educational events actually that you can visit on different topics. We talk about, different technologies. We talk about women. We talk about, let's say, blockchain technologies. All this type of stuff, you can actually attend. So. Please join us, and I hope you learned something. And if you have any questions, I'm super happy to answer. You can find me on my email or on my Instagram or somewhere. And please write to me. Thank you very much.